This is the painting called Olympia, painted by Manet about 1863, which caused an enormous scandal when it was exhibited in 1865 at the Salon. The reason it caused a scandal is beyond me, because to me it's just an innocuous little sweetie pie lying back, recumbent position, and we have far more pornographic type paintings in the world today. And indeed, before this, Rubens especially was quite a culpable homicide type painting in some of his nudes. But anyway, it caused a great scandal because of the little band around here, the coquettish piece of red. It's terrible to have red, of course, anywhere. And the negress there, and the black cat especially, giving a feeling of black magic, all the connotations of evil. I can't see, frankly, anything in any way bad about this. It's got a rather unique position in art, apart from the scandal, which we'll forget, which is only because it happened in the mid-Victorian days, and they had a hypocritical sense of values, probably. But where it's interesting in art is because it's a two-dimensional effort, because Manet was influenced greatly by Japanese prints, as indeed were most Impressionists, and she has flat... It's very difficult to paint, actually, this picture. She has flat planes instead of the three-dimensional, as someone referred to it as a corpse. That was one of the things aimed at it, because she's yellow. And possibly this looks a bit yellow. I've not seen the original for 40 years. I'm working from a bad reproduction, but she is indeed yellow. And indeed, flesh is yellow. I mean, one doesn't have to have rosy bums and things like this to make a thing beautiful. But I can't see anything unaesthetic or ugly about her. The drapes, which I've rather badly painted because I haven't much time, is these are almost, in the original, the drapes, the pillowcases and so on, are equal to those of Rembrandt and Titian. Indeed, this painting was, of course, strongly influenced by Giorgione and other painters of this kind, Titian and so on. It's a very classic pose, very simple. Indeed, as I talk about that, I'm reminded of Titian's Diana, which is infinitely more sensuous and infinitely more naughty in that sense than this could ever be. And I'd like to demonstrate a little bit of Manet's technique on the other canvas. Thank you. We block in the background. Originally, this canvas was pure white, and then a line drawing was made on it, a rough, almost tracing of the original. This is half the size of the actual painting in the Louvre. And on that, we washed yellow ochre. This is to break the luminosity of the white, at the same time allow the drawing to show through. Sorry, darling. Manet was born in Paris in 1832, 2 years before Degas, and was the son of a chap who worked in the ministry, high official, Minister of Justice. And his father wanted him to be a naval officer. And he entered an examination and failed, fortunately for us and art. And he went then, I think he tried twice and failed it. Anyway, he went into the studio of Thomas Couture, who was an academic hack, so they say. And after what I consider a very long time, 6 years, he left and started his own studio for money given to him very kindly by his parents. His mother was pretty well off. And became there more or less a revolutionary painter, painting in his own style, which we know about, in a completely different way of painting, modern. His technique leaves a little to be desired, I feel personally, but that's a matter of taste. It's a very clever painter, intelligent, and will always go down in history as a leading member of the Impressionists. In the painting of the flesh, although it's not easily recognised at the moment because of the yellow underpainting, Manet would have endeavoured to do the minimum of modelling. It isn't easy. Unlike his copy of Titian or Giorgione, did both when he went to Italy as a young man, he painted traditionally. And as we know, Titian, of course, would make a kind of chiaroscuro painting first, and then put the flesh colours on that, whereas Manet's endeavour was what it was termed by the Victorians as a manly effort, a manly occupation of painting alla prima in one go. So the whole thing would be designed and blocked in so that he could just quickly and very bravely, I can't do this in the same way because I'm copying and this inhibits you, but he would work like this in a very strong and confident manner. He was a very fast painter. Indeed, his critics said, and I agree in a way, that sometimes he was too fast. He was what we call now slick in some ways. But his colouring would be modulated to create the minimum of form in the way of shadows and lights and so on. You get a different art form. You get something more approximating the illustration, the illustrative form of painting, which is in great demand today. Indeed, one can mention even someone like Hockney, with due respects, you wouldn't mind, who paints in a more two-dimensional way, more illustrative method of painting, which in itself has its own charm and beauty. I'll now put some dark accents in the lady's hair, because she was famous, she's a redhead, of rather very French-looking lady, if you can use this expression. She's very French. She has the grace and all the feminine attributes that we associate with these ladies of the period. She's probably a very nice person. They were great friends. Vittorine, I think her name was. Sounds like a brilliantine hairdo. It's quite often obvious that even not allowing for the usual scandals associated with artists who paint naked ladies, you become friendly in every way because it's an arduous job being a model, and it needs a certain temperament. Indeed, I know many models, and they're very lovely people usually, very philosophical. They have to be. It's a hard job. And so a relationship struck up between them, and this went the same with Renoir. He became friendly with his models. I mean that in the best possible sense. Here I'm very carefully drawing, let's call it a demarcation line. This is a very bad thing in art to leave lines. You should draw them and lose them and draw them and just make accents. A lovely little piece of colour here, and it's wonderful in art how you can imagine the girl coming into the studio posing, and he'd say, well, wear your slippers, they're very pretty, and immediately see they were lemon yellow, and without realising it, probably thinking lemon will be a foil against the white, And what is the best complementary of all for yellow is blue. And of course, a century or two before him, Vermeer gave us that in his wonderful paintings in Holland. So a little powder blue makes the complementary. You put this in the whole of this. I think they're called mules, these shoes, these slippers. I'm not a gen man on boudoir appliances. Manet was endeavouring in this painting, as indeed in many of his paintings, to create a simplified rendering of form. So in Olympia, he's subdivided the tummy muscles here, up through the chest, into the breast, into the bone there, bringing this down here, and leaving this area here to express the form, and bringing down from up here a slightly warm top light, as distinct from the cool light of the leg. And he bounces this onto the forearm here in order to create the foreshortening of the forearm. This is warm, this is warm, this is cool. The whole thing is extremely subtle in its conception. But one of the most difficult pieces of painting he found was the foreshortening of the hand. This he achieved by taking a cool light across like that, almost cutting the wrist off, then remembering the supination of the forearm bones, a little division there, a little division above the thumb, and an extremely careful touch in each finger to create the complete foreshortening, the emphasis around it. And taking the sable, it's very difficult, this piece of painting for him, is he emphasizes the light on the top of each finger, because he's working generally from a top light behind him. It strikes there, and the knuckle bones of each of the fingers as it touches the hand and the thumb. I've emphasized this to teach, really. And then he plays back on that, because it looks as overdone now. He plays back on that again with his fresh colour, which gives him a double chance. It's like painting around the head of a portrait, the background. Gives you another chance to re-establish your original drawing. And although I've painted this quite crudely, it should register as what I'm trying to say. Now, in between there, with the same warmth, he touches the division of skin between each finger and thumb. 1, 2, that'll do, yes, that's enough. This, of course, would be painted more, but let's leave that for now. Besides the obvious tonal changes, Manet would have been desirous of making cool against warm, dark against light and so forth throughout the picture, as all true painters of truth do. And so he adopted the ploy of previous masters of applying the many colours one achieves in white to silhouette the form of the girl. This takes a considerable amount of painting, and he would now come back to the details, a little highlight on the gold here. Also, not just representing the bracelet, but very importantly, representing the light from back above him coming down, and this would be the highlight there. And there's a pearl in there, which I won't hold to paint, which will give a little touch to break up each shape telling within the shape. And as a ploy against this, just as he employed the colours to represent the shapes between, here in the pillow is a beautiful highlight of white, which shows the form as it presses in, the arm presses there, the body presses into there, so all these point towards the pressure in there, like the folds in trousers, the creases in trousers or skirts or whatever. Each material having its own type of form. In the 18th century, 17th and 18th century, of course, men were, not many women, but men were employed purely as painters of cloth, silk, satin, and they spent a whole life painting the various textures of cloth with the individual nature. In relation to Manet's eyes, invariably he painted them looking down, downcast, and Olympia herself has virtually got a haughty expression. Excuse me. This is probably why it created such a furor. It wasn't just the sexual connotation, it was the disdainful look of people who thought, there's this prostitute lying back here wantonly exposing her body with this disdainful look. And of course it upset the bourgeoisie and the hypocritical religious people of the day. But the lady, I can't see the girl's eyes in this, but I suppose they would be looking at her mistress. Eyes are extremely important in pictures and very, very difficult to create with feeling, because the slightest, I worked it out once, about a 65th of an inch, even less, one way or the other, become astigmatic or cross-eyed or glare. A technical phenomena takes place in the painting of dark-skinned people. The highlights on the skin are usually always bluish, very tinged with blue. This is about the tonal quality of light upon warm flesh, like that. And this girl has a Victorian kind of dress going around here, and this helps if you use the same type of tone and colour to paint the chemise, or whatever it is, having a collar or something in. And that acts as a foil, the light against the dark, against the light. There's a light here and a light here forming the bandana. It's probably tied at the back with one of these things. In here, of course, there's kind of carnations and little roses and things I can't see, but a kind of bouquet of flowers. This is an excellent foil again for the softness of the flowers against the harshness of the paper, the crispness of the paper. And it also carries the green colour of the background in the leaves. I'll pop a few in. This carries the green colour down there either way. The green colour around the warmth of the flesh. The warmth of the reds echoed across here. This red complementary colour to the green. This green a foil to the red here, and so it travels through the picture. I've got the old painting there, which I'd rather like to work more on that, because I've said all I can at this stage about this. I'm painting this very quickly to liven up the background. It's not painted in the true Impressionist style, because he hadn't adopted that system at this time, but there's a looseness, a freshness and vivacity to it that he was aiming for, which was hitherto, in his time anyway, not known. Many painters paint very quickly, but his object was to achieve the kind of painting I should imagine a very beautiful painting, and one wonders why there was so much controversy raging over this lovely painting in the 19th century. That's all. Good night.